She said my mistake, disregard.
Yeah, you got the wrong class. All right, I'm going to mute you guys. We'll get started. Okay, so we're on page 268. This is called decimal sense. And what sense means is just getting a feel for how decimals work. We kind of did some decimal stuff at the beginning of the year with the place value kind of stuff. We did the ones, tenths, hundreds, thousandths, and if you remember above the smart board, there was a chart that was in different colors and it showed you that. We didn't for a while at the beginning of the year, so this should be pretty familiar. So let me kind of map you out what we're going to do for this week. So I went ahead, and I don't know what got into me, but on Shobi this weekend, I did all of my lessons for the week at one time, and I usually don't do that. I usually do all of them like per day. Give me just a second to get Keller on real quick. So what I did was I mapped everything out, and hopefully it kind of helps us see what we're going to do for the rest of the year. Give me just a minute to get Keller on real quick. Let me see. I don't know if I can email her the link. Okay, hold on just a second. Sorry. One minute. Just hang tight. Internet's being slow for me today. All right, so look at decimal sense. That's where we're going to start for today and tomorrow. You know, today we always do the first day as a homework grade, and then tomorrow will be a classwork grade. Then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you look on the next page, it says decimal and place value. They put a whole lot of information on this. So Wednesday, we're going to look at the place and the value, and then also expanded form, I think. Those two. On Friday, I'm going to do the short word name with you, standard form, which is just writing it in numbers, and then making a decimal into a fraction. And as long as you know the place value of it, then you're fine. So that's going to take us to the end of this week. Unfortunately, they give you so much information on page 270 that we can't do it all in one day. It's not hard. It's just like 5 different things they want you to learn. Next week will be our last full week of learning with Zoom. So next Friday, the 15th, will be our last Zoom class. So we have this one Wednesday, Friday, next Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So only 6 left. Let's see how far we get into decimals. We're only going to spend a little bit of time on adding decimals because you guys know how to do that. All you do is line it up and add them like money. We'll skip estimating. There's another section on adding. We'll probably do adding and subtracting next week and then take a test on it. And then next year, I'll tell Mr. Robbie to get you guys started on the multiplying and dividing because we won't make it that far. And we never really make it that far, so it's not anything new. We actually did a little bit of the dividing and multiplying when we did testing review. So it should be similar to what you already know. All right, so let's look at this page. I am having trouble getting Keller on here because it does not want to work. Give me one more minute. Okay, look at the top. Decimals may be represented on a number line. As with the whole numbers, a greater decimal is located to the right of a lesser decimal. So they give you some number lines here. Ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So look at that real quick. Okay, Lord, this Zoom today is just, I'm really over Zoom. Mr. Robbie said that this morning too. We're just tired of Zoom. Okay. Let me try to find my screen now because that went away. So look at the ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. With the ones, remember with ones, it has 0 point and then one number after it. So it starts with 0 on this line and it goes to 10. And if you see, the ones is bigger than the thousandths. So if we were to go to ones, and if I make the number line here, you can just kind of sketch out a number line any way you can. They start at 0 and they go to 10. So in between that, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up. I'm just going to put a 1 here just because to save time, I'm not going to recopy what's already in the book. If you look at in between 1, that is what we're looking at in terms of the decimals. We're looking at numbers that are in between 0 and 1. So that's when you have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all of those up to 0.9. So if I were to draw out a number line between 0 and 1, I would have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, all the way up to 1. And remember, that's actually not pronounced 0.1, it's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, all the way up. We can get even smaller than that and go in between that. We could go into hundredths, we can go into thousandths. So remember that tenths is bigger than hundredths, hundredths is bigger than thousandths. And it kind of is like fractions to say if we have a pizza and I split it up into tenths or I split it up into hundredths, you're going to get a much bigger piece if I split it up into tenths versus trying to split it up into hundredths of pieces, okay? So fractions and decimals are a lot alike in the terms of they're smaller than 1. And remember with fractions, if you have a half is bigger than 3/4. So it's kind of different than whole number. It is a lot different than whole numbers. So if we were going to look, I'm going to draw the one they have at the bottom of the book. I don't want to pay too much attention to the ones they have right there in different colors because they're awfully confusing when you're trying to look at all of them. So draw a number line on your paper. Let's draw the one they have in the book. They have the number line starts at 6.5, so that's 6 5/10. You can say 6.5 as long as you know that it's 6 5/10. Okay, I'm just going to say 6.5 is a lot simpler. Then it has one dash after it, another dash, 1, 2, 3. So it has 4 dashes after the 6.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it goes to 7. 7.0 and 7 are the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4 dashes after that. Then it gets to 7.5, 7.5. 4 more dashes. And then we get to 8. Oh my God, I just undid all of that work. Oh. This app, if you press anything off of the screen, it messes up. Okay, this is not my day. 6.5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 7.0. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8.0. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8.5. Okay, I'm gonna keep going just because I like it to be full. 1, 2, 3, 4. 9.0. That's the one they have at the bottom. I went ahead and went to 9. Now I'm going to do the letters in a different color. I'm going to do the letters in red. So what you'll be doing today is they'll give you a number line. You don't have to copy the number line into your classwork or homework. Don't worry about that. You can just write the letters. So on the second one right here, they have an A. This one right here is a B. And then right here is C. Okay, so you can just kind of draw a dot there or an arrow or whatever can alert you to where the letter is going to be. And like I said, on your homework and classwork, you don't have to draw out the number line. You can just put A equals, B equals, C equals. And if you look at 1 through 8, you're only going to do 1 through 4 today for homework and then 5 through 8 tomorrow for classwork. Don't do your classwork today until you see how I corrected your homework, because you need to know if they're right or wrong before you do the rest. With that, you're going to have 3 answers for each one. That's why I only have 4. So in total, you're going to have 12 answers because each one has 3 letters. So I'm going to show you how you would read these to get the answer, and I'm going to do the answer in blue. So if this one is 6.5, I can count up 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 7. So if I'm counting up, each one is a tenth, A would equal 6.6. Okay, so I'm going up a tenth each time. Now if I go to 7.5, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, and then B is 7.8. I put B as a different place than your book did, sorry, but that's all right. And then C, we already had filled that out, so C is 8. You can put 8.0, you can just put 8, it means the same thing. Now if I put one right here, and I labeled that D, see if you can tell me what D is. So look on this and see if you can tell me what D is doing what we just did. It's going up by a tenth every time. So 6.5, 6.6, all the way up. I'm going to get your questions in just a minute. Still checking attendance. Hold on, still looking for a couple people. Okay. So if we look at this and we know that C is 8, I can count up. So look where I put the blue on the screen. 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4. Okay, so you're really gonna look with each one at what they give you as the numbers on the number line, and then you'll be able to tell what goes in between. So let me do another one with you, and then I'm gonna get your questions, okay? Because I might answer your questions as we do these. So I'm gonna clear this, and I'm gonna draw a new number line. Draw this one on. Now you don't have to draw it in the book, but I do want you to draw these for your notes. Okay, so draw this one, and I want you to put 0 and 1. The dash kind of looked like a 1, that's why I wrote it underneath. Okay, now if we're going between 0 and 1, actually change that 1 into 0.1. Just put a 0 and a decimal in front of it. Make it 1/10. So now I'm going 1/10. 1/10 is very, very small. So in between 1/10 is going to be hundredths. So if we were looking at in between that, we would put, let's put, hold on, give me just a second to count these out. Put 9 dashes in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They don't need to be even or anything like that. Just make sure you have 9 dashes. Okay, now if you look at these 9 dashes, each one of these is going to be hundredths. So let me recap with you what that means. We have 1/10 right here. If we're breaking 1/10 into smaller parts, then the answer is going to be hundredths. So this one would be 0.01. This one would be 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, and so on. Okay, so if you have one that has a tenth at the end of it, in between that is going to be hundredths. If I have one at the end that's 0.01, then this one would be 0.001. So every time you go in between, it gets smaller. I'm going to erase that so that doesn't confuse you. So if we have hundredths in between, I want you to tell me what this one is. Let's call that one A. So count up and see if you can figure out what A equals. So this one's 0.01, 0.02, 0.03. All you do is keep counting it up. Don't let it confuse you. A number of lines have a tendency to be kind of confusing just because it's all crammed in there at once. But it shouldn't be too hard for you. So let's look at this one. We stopped at 0.04, 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, 0.08. That would be our answer. This one I just circled would be 0.09, and then we get to 0.1. If we were to go on, this one would be 0.101, I think. But we'll get there in a second. I'm going to kind of recap for you in words what you would do for these. So if you have a number line with dashes between tenths, the numbers in between are hundredths. Okay, so all that means is if we have 0 and 0.1, these are going to be hundredths. If it's easier for you to just draw it than write the words, that's fine. So if we have the number line and we have all of these dashes right here, and the number line is in tenths, that means in between it's going to be hundredths. Okay, so if it's easier for you to just draw this little diagram out, then you can. You might want to draw a little arrow that says this is tenths. So we have tenths, I kind of like bookcases if you think about like bookends. A bookend goes on either side of books to hold them up. Our bookends are tenths, so our books in between would be hundredths. Okay, I'm gonna give you a second to copy that and then I'm gonna show you another one. I didn't give you the overcomplicated ones for this just because it's just not necessary for us to be really getting into the complicated stuff at the end of the year because you'll get it next year with Mr. Robbie. So I told him the other day what we were doing, and then I kind of gave him a list of stuff we skipped so he can start next year with it. And the only thing we really skipped was like estimating. You know, every time we did that, we just kind of skipped it because it's not super important. Rounding was important, but not estimating. They're pretty similar anyway. All right, so now let me show you this one. If you have a number line like this, and we have 0.01, 0.02, our bookends are hundredths. So we're having in between hundredths. So all of these little dashes in between are going to be thousandths. Okay? I'm not going to write that one in words because I actually do think it's a little bit easier for you to just draw the little diagram. So if we have hundredths on the ends, the middle is going to be thousandths. All right, we're going to practice a little more with some of this, then I want to talk about some science. I'm going to give you some of these to practice that are on page 269, not classwork or homework, but just practicing right now. If you look at 9 through 14 on page 269, that is a long number line that goes from 0 to 1. They have letters A to F. I did the A with you just a minute ago, except it was 0.08 instead. So let's look at that one. I'm going to kind of draw the number line in between 0.2 and 0.3. So if I have the number line at 0.2, 0.3, there's 9 little dashes in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now you look at B and C. I want you to look at B and C and see if you can tell me what B and C are. And while you guys are working on that, I'm going to try to answer some questions on here from people who have their hands raised on the little screen. Hold on to your answers for a second, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do it. Addie?
My question is, you said something about us having 4 to do for classwork.
Uh-huh.
Or was that for homework? 1 through 4.
1 through 4 is today's homework. 5 through 8 you'll do tomorrow. But don't get started on 5 through 8 until I correct 1 through 4.
Yes, ma'am. But I have one more.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have them, like the ones that you gave us today, I mean, like right now, when you gave us like right now, with the point.
It'll be easier than this one.
And I know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, these are the harder ones. I didn't give you any of these today. Let me see who else has their hand. You guys are good about putting your hands down when you don't have a question anymore. 4th grade keeps them up forever, and then I get to them and they don't know what they're talking about. Braylon?
So when on this screenshot, why did it leave the screen? On the other one, it said that you put 0.02 and then 0.03. Wouldn't that be in between? Would that be in between the numbers?
On this one, yes.
Okay.
So we have tenths here. So all of the answers in betweens are going to be in hundredths. Okay. All right, so let's look at this one. This one is 0.2. So if we look at this one's going to be 0.21. Okay, so look at that one. This one's 0.2, and if it helps you, you can think of a 0 behind it. 0.20. Now this is 0.21. This one is 0.22, 0.23, 0.24, 0.25, 0.26, 0.27, 0.28. So C would be 0.29 or 29 hundredths. So if it helps you to kind of count like that, that's what I do. 0.20, 0.21, 0.22, all the way down. Then after 0.29, it goes to 0.3. Remember, you can add as many zeros after this as you want. It doesn't change it. We talked about that at the beginning of the year. You can add as many zeros after the number as you want. Okay, so let me get Addie's question real quick, and then see, Tejal, you have one, and then we'll try some more. Addie?
My new question is for our classwork.
Uh-huh.
I mean, sorry, not for our classwork. When we do our homework, do we have to draw out the scale, or can we just put like the answer? If it says like A equals, can you just put A equals and then the answer?
That is what I circled right there.
Wait, so you want us to draw the number line?
No.
Okay.
But if you want to, you could. It's easier for me to grade if you don't.
Okay.
If it helps you guys to do that, you are totally welcome to do that. All right. Tasia?
So for this one, if we wanted to, can we put for 0.2, can we put 0.2? Or
Yeah.
is that
Yep,
okay?
same thing. That's kind of up to you. Either one would be correct. All right, let's do this one. And if you can do it without drawing the number line on your paper, you can if you want. I'm going to make this one 6/10 and this one 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now if I put a dot here and a dot here, we'll say this one's A and this one's B. Okay, see if you can figure out what A and B are here. This one's actually not in your book. I'm kind of just making them up now. Okay, so we have tenths here, so our answers need to be in hundredths. Then I'm going to give you some in hundredths and we'll practice going into thousandths. And then I'll do number 1 with you for today on your homework. That way you can see it, and we can do that one together. So you can have that done and correct on your homework for today. So we're only going to be doing 2 lessons this week just because they're so jam-packed. We'll do adding and subtraction next week, probably in the same day. Practice all week, then have your test. Well, we have to get our grades in. Let me tell you this, it's so important. Our report cards have to be done by May 19th for Mr. Robbie because he has to do the whole entire school and you have to do all the terms plus final grades. So I need all of you guys' missing work and stuff by Friday, and you guys are really, really good with not having missing work. So if I messaged your parents, then I already told them what was missing. You guys are pretty good about that, but if you don't have that turned in, so say you have like 5 assignments you don't turn in, that could be an incomplete on your report card. So you need to have all your missing work turned in. And if you have more than 5, you already know you have more than 5. If I didn't talk to your parents or you this weekend, then you're good, okay? So if you didn't get a message from me, then you don't have to worry about any missing work. All right, so let's do this one. We'll do another practice. So if I start at 0.6, this is going to be 0.61, so 61 hundredths, 62 hundredths, 63 hundredths, 64 hundredths. So 0.64 for A. 65 hundredths, 66 hundredths, 67 hundredths, 68 hundredths, 69 hundredths, 0.69. Okay, then you go 7. Then after that, it would be 71 hundredths, 72 hundredths, 73 hundredths. Okay, so let's do one with thousandths. Let me show you that one. So say we have one like this. Let me see what they give you. 0.28, and this is actually on your work tomorrow, so remember this when you do tomorrow's work. 0.29. If I give you one like this, put 9 dashes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, then if I do this one starts out as 0.281. 0.282. And you just kind of keep going. So you take this first one and you just add a 1 after it, and that's the first dash. So do this one. See if you can figure out what this one would be, and then this one. Keep going where I left off on 0.282 and count up to A and B. And remember, I record these. If you need to go watch it, you can. It is a lot. But if you just remember that trick of taking this first one, putting a 1 after it, that's your first notch. Then add 2. 3, 4, all the way up. It's just counting. So don't let it confuse you too much. I do not like that chart they put on 268 though. I do really think that's confusing. It's just too much. Okay, so let's look at A and B. If I count it up, 0.283, 0.284, 0.285, 0.286, 0.287, 0.289. So I had an extra little dash there. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, that was right, 8. So look what I just did there. I started with A, and I just said 5, 6, 7, 8, 0.288. So that dash was correct. Okay, I'm gonna give you one more to try. Actually, let's not try one more together. Let's do number 1 together. So this is gonna be the first one on your homework today. So this is number 1 on page 268. This is the one that's gonna be on your homework today. So really you only have 3 problems to do after this. I'm gonna draw the number line out. You do not have to. So it starts with 0 and it goes to 1. Okay. And then they put A right here, B here, and then C here. Okay, so that's what they have in your book. That's number 1. So on your homework, all you have to do is say A equals, B equals, C equals. So if we look at 0, we know that it's going to be in tenths. So look at this. This 0 and this 1 are whole numbers. So if they're whole numbers, the next step down would be tenths. So this one right here, I'm going to do it in red. This first one that is not a letter would be 0.1. So what comes after 0? 1, and it's going to be in tenths. This would be 0.2, so that means A would be 0.3. So the reason it's not in hundredths or thousandths is because I have whole numbers at the end. So when I have whole numbers at the end, the middle of it's going to be in tenths because that's the next smallest. So let's keep counting. If this was 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. So B is 6/10. We keep counting. 7, 8, 9. C is 9/10. Okay? So the reason today is homework grade because I want to see how you do with it. I don't want to have you do it the first time and me not have taught it correctly or something and you fail it, obviously. So what I do each time is I correct it for you. If I just put a check mark across it, that means they're all right. You don't need to worry about it. If I put X's and no grade, that means I just corrected it. But if you do it, you still get 100. So you need to really look at it after I grade it and make sure that you understood it. So we're going to do 2, 3, and 4 today, and I'll unlock it in just a little bit. I do want to go over some science with you because you have your test tomorrow, and then map out what science is going to look like for the rest of the year. So I'm going to take any math questions. I know Gabrielle and Addie had their hands raised on here. If you don't have any math questions, get your science stuff out. And let's look at that real quick. I'm going to show you some parts of the test, and then we'll be done. Addie, did you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. My question is about so basically, if you have the point, the 0, if you're doing the timeline and you're doing it in between like a 0 point something and another 0 point something, and so so when you do it, it has like 0.0 something. When you have it,
We'll start with 1 and go up. So if I had something, if you look at the screen, 0.2 and then 0.3 on this end, I would go 0.21, 0.22, 0.23, all the way up to 0.29.
Okay.
I'll
But-
see if I can find you guys a good a good number line too to put on Shobi and see if that'll help you, okay?
Okay, I have one more question.
Uh-huh.
My
Go ahead.
second question is, so if we have whole numbers, we just have the point something.
Right, yeah. Okay. Let me find Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you still have a question?
No.
No? Okay. Alright. So look at your science stuff with me. What I'm looking at right now is the study guide. If you don't have your study guide out, that's fine, just listen. This test, a lot of it is using what you know about the Mohs hardness scale to figure out questions. Kind of think of it like a Mohs hardness scale puzzle. The first part of your test is the same as always. It's going to be vocab, and there's only a little bit of vocab in this whole lesson, so they put the whole thing on the front. And it's just matching with the word bank and the letter. That's pretty simple. Everybody did really well on the vocab worksheet, of course, last week. The vocab test was really good, so you guys know your vocab. I'm not worried about that. All right, now look at this one, 10 through 13. It's probably backwards, but you can kind of get a good vibe. This is the Mohs hardness scale. So it says 1 is the softest, 10 is the hardest. The Mohs hardness scale is going to be the same everywhere you see it, in your book, on the test, everywhere. 1 is talc, 10 is diamond. So it gives you questions like this. Which of the following minerals is the hardest? But it doesn't give you diamond as a choice. It says gypsum, talc, topaz, calcite. So what you would do is look at the chart and see which one has the bigger number, because the bigger number is the hardest. Then it says, which of the following minerals can fluorite scratch? So fluorite is a 4. So anything 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 can scratch it. So it gives you quartz, which is a 7. It gives you apatite. No, wait, hold on. Read the question wrong, so listen to me. Again, which of the following minerals can a fluorite scratch? Not what can scratch fluorite, which is what I was thinking. So fluorite is a 4. It can scratch a 3, 2, or 1. So quartz is an 8. No, sorry, quartz is a 7. I need to get myself together today. So fluorite cannot scratch quartz because it's a 4 and quartz is a 7. Apatite is a 5. A 4 can't scratch a 5. Orthoclase is a 6. 4 can't scratch a 6. Calcite is a 3. So fluorite can scratch calcite, which is a 3. So any number above it, it can't scratch, but it can be scratched by that number. So think of it just like common sense. Talc is what baby powder is made out of. Talc is really chalky and you can crumble it in your hands. That is not going to be able to scratch a quartz, because quartz, you've seen quartz. Quartz is stuff that is pretty common. You've seen that stuff. It can't scratch that. But think about quartz and how hard it is. It can scratch softer things. Then they give you this one. Listen to this question. Scientists sometimes use a copper penny with a hardness of 3 or glass with a hardness of 6 to test a mineral's hardness. Which of the following minerals could be scratched by a glass but not by a penny? So you have to think of which mineral is going to be between 3 and 6. So a penny is 3, glass is 6. You're going to have to find which of the options they give you that's in between. You need to know that a rock that has seashells in it is going to be a sedimentary rock, because that's the kind that's going to have the layers. Metamorphic rock and igneous rock would have too much heat or pressure to have a fossil. It would destroy the fossil over time. Sedimentary doesn't have the heat or pressure. It just has layers. We classify minerals by 3 things. That was the first thing we did with this. It's hardness, luster, and streak. Those 3 things. Halite, that is table salt. So that's on your study guide. That one we always review a lot before the test. Halite is table salt. You have a question about a piece of pumice and a piece of obsidian. They're both igneous rock, which means they come from magma that is cooled and hardened. Pumice is the stuff I told you is like a pumice stone, and people use it on their feet or on their skin, and it has little holes in it. The holes are in it because the gas escapes and it pops, and it makes these little holes. It's lighter than obsidian because it has all those holes. Obsidian is a solid piece, so it's going to be a lot heavier, and it's going to not have those little holes in it to make it light. How is a rock different from a mineral? A rock is different from a mineral because it's made up of a bunch of different minerals. So a bunch, well, not different necessarily, but one or more mineral makes a rock. So a rock is just one or more minerals. I answered this one already. Why can't you find a fossil in metamorphic or igneous rock? Too much heat and pressure. Now this one is always confusing and I don't love it, but I'm going to explain it to you. Which would be a better model of how an igneous rock changes into a sedimentary rock? So igneous, hard rock coming from a volcano into a sedimentary rock that's layers. Is it going to be an eraser rubbed on paper? So picture an eraser being rubbed on paper. Or crushed graham crackers that are mixed with melted butter and pressed into a pie pan to make a crust. A lot of information. The graham cracker is the better model because it shows us wearing down the graham
Every few minutes, look out the window, but don't scare Kitty. Shut the door.
and putting them into layers to make a pie. So if you think about that one again, if we crush up graham crackers and we make them weathered and eroded, and then we put them into the pie pan and kind of make it into a layer, that's the better representation of an igneous changing sedimentary. It also says, which would be a better model of how metamorphic rocks form? Chocolate chip cookie dough that's flattened and then baked into cookies, or chocolate chips and milk melted together in a pan and then cooled to make fudge. That answer is the chocolate chip cookie dough that's flattened and baked into cookies. Because if you take chocolate chip cookie dough and you flatten it, that's the pressure. Cooking it and baking it is going to be the heat. So heat and pressure from making the cookie dough, flattening it, baking it is going to be metamorphic rocks. The other one with them melted together and cooled, that'd be igneous. All right, then the last one, you get a chart that looks like this. It says the mineral's name. It tells you the color of the streak, and the hardness. So the first one says talc. It's light green in color, has a white streak, and a hardness of 1. Then it gives you 2 questions. A mineral sample has a white streak and is so soft it can be scratched by your fingernail. What mineral is it? So we look for all the streaks. Then we look at which one is soft enough to be scratched by our fingernail, and it gives you 4 choices and you pick it. Next one says a mineral sample is purple, has a white streak, and cannot be scratched by a penny. You just look right here and see, okay, which one is purple? All you're doing is reading the chart. You don't really have to know any kind of information to solve that. So a lot of this test is really just using charts to answer, which is good practice for you. It's really not difficult. Then tomorrow you're going to take the test. And on Wednesday, we'll start our next chapter. I don't know if we're going to finish the chapter, but we're going to do our best to get through as much as we can. On Wednesday, you'll do the vocab. Thursday, you'll read it and do the questions. Friday, you'll do some fill-in-the-blank notes. The next one's going to be on the atmosphere and some weather. So look with me at today's classwork. It's going to be on page C58. Some of you might have already gotten started on this morning since you didn't have math to get started on. But on C58 and 59, that's going to be today's classwork. Made it pretty simple. You're only going to do 1 through 9 and 15 through 21. 1 through 9 is just the vocab. None of them have 2 lines in it, so you don't have to worry about putting them in order and all that. And then 15 through 21 is just multiple choice. Use your notes, use your book, whatever you need. They're really pretty simple on this one. And then that's pretty much it. So tomorrow you'll have your test. I'll be around if you need me for that. Today you have practice. In math, you have 3 more problems on what we did with this stuff. Tomorrow you'll have the rest of what we did with this. And then the rest of the week will be on place value and stuff like that. So I'm going to unlock it real quick with you here. Give me just a second. All right, so you're doing 268, 1 through 4. It is now unlocked on Shelby and due tomorrow by 4 o'clock. You guys have already been really good about turning your work in on time, which is fantastic. I bragged about you already and told Mr. Roby I don't want you to go to 6th grade. Just keep you all with me. No, you don't need that. All right, so if you don't have any questions, you can go. I'm going to unmute you if you have any questions. I'm going to unmute Addie first because I see hers, and then I'll unmute everybody. Addie?
For my, so I have 2 questions about science. How will you be asking the last 2 on the test?
It's multiple choice.
From the study guide.
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice?
I think. What's the last one on the study guide?
One about the graham crackers.
Oh,
and
that is, you just write the answer out, sorry.
What do you mean by that?
So you would just say, it's the graham cracker because it is weathered and eroded and put into layers.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to unmute you guys. Anybody have any questions?
Bye.
If you don't, you can go.
Bye.
I'll up for you. Bye, Christian.
Deuces.